Hello and welcome to TTRPG, a channel dedicated to creating a safe space for marginalized folks to play games together. I'm going to let Max take it away.
Hi, everybody. My name is Max. You may have seen me here around TTRPG before, and I'm excited to be returning with some new folks and some familiar folks for a little bit of holiday horror in the system The Between. And before I allow my castmates to introduce myself, I do want to do a little bit of background on the system and a trigger warning. This is a horror system set in Victorian London. While we are disregarding some of the social norms in Victorian London regarding the treatment of people with marginalized identities, we will be featuring mild gore and mentions of blood, things like that. So if that's something that doesn't suit your fancy, you may want to step away. And then myself, I am Max. I am the keeper today, and I use they, he pronouns. I will victimize Cameron because you are next to me in the Zoom.
Not a problem. Hi, everybody. My name is Cameron. I'm new to TTRPG, but not new to the scene, sort of. I'm very excited to play in this game. The setting is my bread and butter, and I'm excited to play Harper Villains, the American. So looking forward to playing with everyone here. Back to you, Max.
D, go ahead. We can't hear you, darling. We cannot hear you. Yeah.
I was muted. Sorry. Good evening, all of these gorgeous people. My name is Dee, and tonight I will be bringing to you the wretched corpse of Lefarian. I use any pronouns that make you feel squishy inside, and Lefarian uses he, they pronouns.
Let's see. Joel, go ahead. I'm just picking you off randomly.
Hello, I'm Joel. I've been around the TTRPG block once before, and I'm very excited to be back. I'm playing the butler, Alfred Igor, who goes by he, him. I go by any pronouns, but I technically just go by they, them, just because it's easier to pick one.
Caleb, go ahead.
Hello, I'm Caleb. I use he, they pronouns. This is my second show on this channel. Fun times. I will be playing Victor Grant, he, him, who is the vessel, and I'm quite excited to hopefully be scared, and maybe this time do some scaring.
And Nikki.
And I am Nikki, and I'm co-creator here at TTRPG, so I've been on lots of TTRPG shows. And tonight I am bringing back my creepy queen, Dr. Helena Bettencourt.
And Nikki is also running our tech for this stream, so thank you to Nikki for that as well.
Double B.
Yeah. I do not envy you. That's the real horror. And with that, let's step into a different place, a different continent, a different time for all of us as we leave our respective homes adorned with electricity and plastic bottles and all the things that make the modern world convenient and home as we know it, and step backwards in time to the 1800s. And we will find ourselves today in a bitterly cold winter in London. The city has been graced with a coat of fluffy white snow that just started falling around supper time and has ceased perhaps around 10 or 11 tonight. It's all very shiny and soft. It makes everything glow under oil street lamps and sometimes the light of the visible moon. And in London today, we see a long table. And where it is, we're unsure. It's in a room with a whole lot of wood floorboards that creak as better dressed shoes plop down one after the other, and a figure sits at the head. This figure is the only person at this table, despite settings for 1, 2, 3, 4 down the line, with no food, just silverware and plates and cups, even folded napkins tucked beneath the forks. And as the figure sits down and bides a good evening as they begin to eat their dinner alone somewhere in the dimly lit city. You folks, on the other hand, are not quite as alone. You all make up a wonderful, or maybe wonderful isn't the term, a skilled and carefully constructed team of folks who deal with things that just don't seem to make sense, and you certainly can't bring that to the government, because what are they going to tell you? So this fine morning, we find all of you in the Hargrave house where you reside. And while it is our first time together, we have no mission rewards to collect. I do believe you all have dawn questions on your sheets to answer. This is one of the many features of the Between that help us to frame our characters. So, if you would like, and stop me if this isn't the way that we want to do things, if you'd like to describe your character's appearance, what they might be doing when they get up today, how they start their day, and what question they are pondering in this time. And I will reverse the order and start with you, Nikki. What is the doctor up to?
Dr. Helena Bettencourt is in her early 40s. Dark brown hair, pale skin, basically looks like me. She's Portuguese but lives in England, and when she wakes up in the morning, she's one of the first people to awake. She's an early morning person, and she is currently thinking about the child that would be.
Okay. And then do you have anything that you are pondering this morning?
Oh, like from the Dawn questions list?
Yeah, I think we are supposed to answer them. But we can also just move on if there's nothing that is on Helena's mind at this time.
Yeah, I don't think any of these will apply yet.
Okay. Can players just give me thumbs up or thumbs down if we feel like waiting on the dawn questions until the second day cycle? Yeah? Okay, that's great.
Wait, was thumbs up wait?
Thumbs up is wait, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. You're already unmuted. Oh, come back. It's your turn to be a victim.
Okay, cool. So yeah, Victor is not a morning person. So he's not hyped right now. However, his cat is definitely wanting food.
As they do.
Yeah, this is my life. This is Victor just Caleb? We'll see. But yeah, so my cat Violet is definitely walking around, meowing, wanting food. So Victor will get up to feed Violet. If he can get away with it, probably getting back in the bed.
Valid. And what is Alfred Igor up to this morning?
No. So visually, he intentionally fashions himself to look like just about any generic individual around town, because it benefits him to be, a wallflower. But he wakes up at the crack of dawn and starts making food for everybody and just doing general chores around the house. If there's anything that needs to be cleaned, he does it and just kind of caters to everyone.
That's very nice of him. And what is Lefarian up to?
Lefarian is likely waking up a worshiper and telling him to get some water and a acetaminophen of some type because Lefarian's head hurts, as it always does in the morning.
And lastly, Harper.
I think Harper's coming in the front door, having disappeared in the middle of the night, just coming in, taking off his typical cowboy duster, his sleeves of his shirt rolled up to show the kind of little uncomfortable amount of hair on his forearms, but making sure to hide a few little marks of red on a few of his items of clothing, and dipping down into his basement room before coming back up and helping Alfred fix the food for breakfast.
Yes. So as the scent of breakfast wafts through the long Hargrave house, one by one you're slowly beckoned down to the kitchen and dining room, where you can sit and enjoy your breakfast on what seems to be an oddly calm winter morning. Something too uncharacteristically quiet for those of you who live in the house. And so it comes as no surprise when you hear a familiar, achingly loud rapping at the door. Is there a fancy name for the knocker thing that you grab?
It's called a knocker.
It's just called a knocker?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the sound of the knocker slamming into the oak rhythmically but consistently until one of you answers the door.
I would probably head to the door as soon as it
Helena
starts
looks
knocking.
at Igor.
He just kind of nods and heads off. I'm assuming this has like a peephole or something. I want to look
so if you look through the peephole, you see a figure that is familiar to you, a man of his late middle age, his hair long and tied in the back but sort of balding in the front middle, with circular glasses that push up his nose, bundled in a pea coat. This is Anton, a man who regularly comes by with mysterious happenings, as he just so happens to live in a busy part of town where he sees things and hears things and is interested in getting them taken care of.
Not open the door and politely bow and gesture towards the kitchen or the dining room, since everybody's having breakfast.
He says, "Thank goodness you're home," and comes in, not making himself too comfortable, but he unbuttons his coat as he approaches you all eating breakfast, and then his face sours a little, and he says, "Sorry, have I intruded your morning?"
What gave it away?
Oh,
And do you
only a
have
little
to knock
bit.
so loudly?
Well, who's to say where you are in this giant house? It's the only way you'll hear me.
Tea, sir.
Mm.
Alfred shows up with a tray of tea.
Oh, thank you. And
Also, all Lefarian is having for breakfast is a old duck blind, which is it's a bourbon and maple syrup like coffee.
Helena has an egg cup. A tiny little egg cup with a little egg. The little spoon.
I love it.
So,
he's not. Yeah.
What brings you here? It's early in the morning, a little bit out of style for you. So, love to hear what you got to say.
Well, and he takes a long sip of this tea, only to realize that it's too hot and just too hot for him to
Careful, it's
drink.
hot.
You see that? There's been a disturbance. I can't quite tell you what's wrong, just that I know it is. When was the last time you got the paper?
Eagle, when was the last time we sent you to get the paper?
Well, the post hasn't come for past few weeks. Dog problem, apparently.
Indeed.
Okay. And he pulls a rolled up post from inside his jacket and brings it over to the table, puts it down between you, and starts to skim through. Eventually he comes to the obituaries, and he points at one for a man of the name Cyrus Wilmington. And thus he will explain, this lad here, Mr. Wilmington, very young. I remember reading over this piece not but a week or two ago, when I was having the paper in my shop, and then I remember his burial, as we're only a few blocks from the cemetery. The procession, I remember the people coming to see him, but as I went to visit my wife's grave, as I do every month, I noticed that his own was askew. And I thought maybe this was just because he had been buried, and he looks at the date more exactly, 10 days ago. But it looks as if it, I don't know, perhaps I'm just being silly, or maybe I'm not. Things can get weird here, but it looks like it had ruptured from the inside. There's nothing in there now. And I have no idea where this bloke might be, but it's probably a good idea we find out.
Was he wealthy?
Before someone else.
Are you sure it's not grave robbers?
Well, I didn't know him, just that he had died. It's possible, but so are many things.
Well, either way, might be a good thing to check out. See if we find anything along the way, related or otherwise.
Yes, precisely. I just, even if it is a grave robber, as you say, as Max says in a very uncertain accent, I would rather them not be around my shop.
Why would they be around your shop? Oh, it's near the... Never mind.
And
what was the name again?
I will put it in our chat. It is Cyrus Wilmington.
I got the Wilmington one.
Nice. I haven't seen the family come around yet, so I'm not sure they know.
Or if there is a family.
Well, they had a burial. So somebody paid for this obituary to be put in the paper.
Plenty of people get buried all the time. Doesn't mean there's a family.
my second point still stands. Somebody paid for this, and he points at the ad.
True.
Unless he was of the militia, but for that I'm not sure.
I suppose we could give it a look.
I knew I could always count on you guys. Claps his hands together, not quite as loud as the knocker on the door, but it makes like this like resounding like sound. It's confusing because he's like not the most imposing dude, like he's literally balding, but it really rings out. Yes, I can always count on you, of course. And
Helena
I'm
reaches
sorry.
into a pocket and hands Lefarian some pills that were in her pocket.
You are a treat.
I'm sorry to have disturbed your breakfast. Stay warm, will you? And with that, unless anyone has further questions for him, he will be out of your hair.
This way, sir. Says Cortum out the door.
It feels so silly. Yeah. He rebuttons his coat like all the way to the top, pulls it around, hands stuffed in the pockets, and he's back off. It's not snowing again right now, but the sky has the sort of, when there are so many clouds that it's just like white when you look up. It's got that kind of thing going on, like it might happen again sometime today. It's been a real cold December in London this year.
That's just the British sky.
I've only been there once, and I was jet lagged for like almost the whole time.
I've never been there. I'm just going off stereotypes.
Okay. Well, in that case, historical accuracy. Oh yeah. Okay. And as he's left, he has forgotten his old paper, his like nearly 2-week-old paper on your table.
Yeah, Harper will flip through it, see if there's anything else Cyrus has taken a keen eye to.
So the paper is otherwise a standard paper for winter here in London. On the front page, you have this and that the Queen, this and that the monarchy, this and that things that everybody knows is going on, usually by word of mouth, but they have to be published because that's how it works. Inside, there are some other printed advertisements, whether it be for care for your horses and horseshoes in the upcoming winter, whether it be job postings where more help is needed at local coffee houses, indoor places of gathering as it gets colder and people want to see each other but still be inside. Among the obituaries, there are a few other names, but none quite as young as Mr. Wilmington, who seemed to pass away at the ripe old age of 26. The cause, unknown, given the medical faculties of the time. It seems like it may have been a self-inflicted unaliving, but there's no way to be sure.
Really is such a shame. It's a pretty thing.
Yeah. Well, might as well figure out what's going on. Find if his body was stolen, get it back where it needs to be, and if not, and whatever unlife has come upon him.
Right then.
Okay. So then I will ask you all in what ways you might want to prepare for the upcoming journey.
Harper's not going to do anything too extravagant. Just take one of his many pistols and keep it by his side in his standard way, and then wait up by the front door and wait.
In stark contrast to the lack of extravagance, Lefarian is going to have Jonathan, the worshiper of the day, pick out their outfit and have them dress Lefarian, and will give Jonathan instructions to be carried out in Lefarian's absence and confirmed upon Lefarian's return.
Out of my own selfish curiosity, when you say that Jonathan is going to dress Lefarian, do you mean that he is literally going to take his pajamas or...
That
oh
is
my
correct.
God.
That is
Okay.
correct.
What a legend. All right. What about everybody else?
Helena's going to get her boots that she procured in Siberia, and put those on under her dress, and is going to bring with her in her carpet bag. She has like those traditional doctor's carpet bags, all of her typical tools, but then also is going to include the little... they're like made out of metal and spikes and chain. You put them on the bottom of your boots to keep you from sliding on ice. So she's going to put a set of those as well.
Okay. Anyone else have any special preparations before leaving or equipment that they are bringing?
Yes.
Igor is going to he has like also like a bag, like a doctor's bag. So he's Dr. Bettencourt's assistant, but it has additional stuff in there that aren't necessarily doctor tools. Just gonna keep them in there just in case they're needed. Then he's gonna grab his hat and then underarm an umbrella and wait by the door for the rest of the group.
Okay. And Victor, you had something to add.
I am going to grab Violet, who is coming with. She's coming with all the time. Get ready. And then I would also like to grab one of my larger candles that I use for my magic, and that will be coming with. So hopefully it's not
Wonderful.
raining.
Okay. Yes. And you all step outside and allow me to pose a question to you all about your group at the Hargrave House. How is it that you often get around? Are we a group of walkers? Do we have horses that we rely upon here? What is it that suits your tastes?
If we're traveling far, Dr. Bettencourt's going to take a carriage. She's not going to walk. That's not becoming of a lady. But if they're not going too far, she will walk.
I think the Farian has a horse that they do not know how to ride.
Yeah, Harper definitely prefers horses. So if a carriage is in the cards, then he'll definitely grab a horse from the small little stable they have. Otherwise, walk-ins just fine.
All right.
There's room in the carriage for you as well, Lefarian. You don't have to ride your horse.
And you're such a dear. And Lefarian will step in before you're in the carriage.
Igor is going to help both of them get in the carriage by hand.
Thank you, darling.
And then he'll go in front with the driver.
Victor, you want to You riding a horse, or?
Sure. I can totally do this.
If you don't, there is more than enough room in my saddle for you and the cat.
There's also room in the carriage as well, Victor. You don't have to ride a horse. Our American friend is quite proficient. You do not have to be quite proficient as well to be worthy of riding inside the carriage.
Okay, just so I can stay with Violet.
Not a problem.
Okay, so you all take your places inside the carriage, bundled up and equipped to head into town. So the Hargrave House is in Belgrave Square, which in modern day London is like a park now. But it's not too far removed from everything else, not too far from Buckingham Palace, all things considered. But you are all heading a little ways north, perhaps slightly to the east, up in your carriage. You head through town without a hitch, really. People are always in a good mood this time of year. There's something about London and Christmas that they really love each other. As you pass through town, you can see that there are children who aren't currently in school out playing in the snow. You can see couples in coffee shop windows enjoying warm beverages together. You can see wreaths and other adornments on the houses as you pass them in the broad daylight that slowly melts the snow despite the cold. As you eventually come to your first destination, which I was presuming would be the cemetery, but if it is somewhere else, it can be somewhere else. Just let me know.
Cemetery sounds great.
Okay. Great. So we come across the cemetery. I don't know. Do you park a carriage? Do you?
There's
Sure.
Yeah, along the road.
Park the carriage.
Yeah,
As
the
you
driver
tied.
stays with the carriage.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, you all hop out and enter the cemetery. This is a larger place of burial. It has kind of plots of land as far as you can see over a large hill with all kinds of shapes of headstones. Some of them with rocks laid on top of them. Some of them have flowers or other kind of trinkets left that glint in the sun. There is one funeral procession currently happening, as you can see, kind of far in the distance on the other side of the cemetery, but otherwise it is largely empty today.
We're going to want to steer clear of that funeral party. Read it in the paper. Body's mangled. It's not a pretty sight.
That actually
Shame.
makes me more interested, if I'm being honest.
All right.
Medical mysteries are, quite an interest of mine. But it's fine. We're here for something else. Shall we continue?
Might as well find this upturned gravestone.
Okay. So I am going to ask somebody to roll the information move, which is to search for a clue, conduct research, or gather information. Whoever rolls it, you can roll for the group with an advantage. So you would roll 3d6 instead of 2. It is up to you all who you would like to make the roll.
What stat does that use?
It's
I see.
The other side is I could search for clues, and I've got a high vitality, so I'm good at physical stuff. Yeah, exactly.
It is up to you all to decide if you want to try 2 different rolls. They would be done without the advantage, but if the 2 of you both want to give it a try, you can do that as well.
I will bow out and let the good doctor do the roll for us.
Take it away.
That's 10 total.
10 total. Wonderful.
Right,
wonderful.
I'm taking the 2 higher d6s and then adding my bonus.
Yep.
Yep, 10 total.
PBTA things. The usual. So, with a 10 total, you succeed and find a clue. Helena, familiar kind of with the process of life and death as a medical doctor, you know that this grave will be in a particular area because it's so new. It's not like they save plots of land unless you are related to somebody who is already buried for people. So you head over there and you are quickly able to locate the still empty grave of Cyrus Wilmington. You see kind of the standard inscription with his years of life, the same 26 years that it denoted in the obituary. And it says, beloved son and brother, rest in peace. And the grave is upturned, just as Anton told you. It's like someone has come to cover it up a little bit, but they haven't done it thoroughly. Perhaps it is the staff of the cemetery. Perhaps it was someone who walked by and saw it and felt bad. With that, you're not quite sure, but there's sort of like a dip where the casket would typically be covered by the dirt, and even with the land around it, it does dip down quite a bit. Someone has gone out of their way to recover it somewhat, but when you reach down and you touch it, it's very obvious that the box is hollow. And with a 10, I will give you a little bit more. You can see on the sides, the fastenings that would have held it together on one side are busted open, not as if somebody sat there and unfastened them like the mortician would, but they are broken, kind of off at the inward points. On the inside, you see kind of a brief indent of dust of where a body would have laid. Maybe even a little bit of tinting from the way that the box kind of sinks into the ground with that weight. But on the inside cover, you see very light signs of battery, an occasional scratch. That's what I've got for you.
Well then, it seems as if they buried him a little bit early.
Yeah, but you wouldn't think a young fella like this, 26 years old, would be able to push up 6 feet of dirt on his own.
Well, we're operating under the assumption that he did it by himself. Or that he did it to himself.
Well, the
By the
dirt's
look of
pushed
the
out.
fastenings, that does seem to be the case.
But we can't rule it out. The only thing is all the dirt's pushed up from inside, and unless he got buried with someone else, or someone else dug a tunnel in there.
To debunk the tunnel theory very quickly, while the box is empty, there's nothing beneath it. That isn't the ground. Maybe if you dug really far down, we would discover some new things about the city of London, but not within a number of feet.
Well, what do we say? Not a typical zombie. Not strong enough for that.
I believe we should check with the family. Beloved son and brother. Likely they were the ones to come back and cover up what happened here.
Agreed. Well, that was...
So you're all going to make an attempt to locate the family then?
We could start with the cemeteries usually are connected to a church, so we start with the church, and then we go ask where the family lives, and then we go from there.
Yes, there is a church rather close to here. A St. Andrew's, nothing too big, but large enough to fit maybe 100 people or so. Their doors are unlocked but not propped open to keep the cold out. And as you all head there, you can see that they are preparing things for the upcoming Christmas masses. There are multiple ones.
There's midnight mass.
They gotta both. Caleb and I don't know.
Mass for Christmas. Yes.
The real horror was the Catholicism along the way.
Well, true to life.
We're in London. It's not Catholicism. It's the Church of England.
Anywho. Yes, there is a church. Their doors are open. They are open for business. There's no like group worship taking place right now, but there are a number of people inside. Some of them are kind of in pews, praying privately, what have you, and there are a number of people of kind of different varieties and ages, a few younger kids helping out older figures in the church with preparation for their upcoming services.
Well, shall I, or does someone else want to take point?
Oh, you know me and priests, so be my guest.
Same.
I'll just catwalk all the way up to the priest of question.
That means you're taking Violet with you?
Yes.
Cool. She'll go.
It's alarming how out of this group, the best fitting one to speak to a priest is Lefarian.
Excuse me, Prophet. I had a question for you.
From his bookkeeping or what, mind you, turns a much older man in his, likely somewhere in his 80s. And he is clearly, from his robes and his dress, the priest here, and he looks to you, maybe briefly unsure about how you've addressed him as prophet, but otherwise willing to hear you out. And he says, yes. How is it we may help you today?
I had a question about a recently departed soul. I read the obituary in the paper for young Mr. Cyrus Wilmington, I believe it was. And I just wanted to pass my condolences along to the family. If you could point me in the right direction, perhaps.
And he goes, Mr. Wilmington, it really is quite a shame. We've prayed for his soul's safe passage to heaven for over a week now. Are you a friend of Mr. Wilmington's, or
more of a good Samaritan? It's part of my own personal journey to try and help people that are grieving. Provide what I can.
Of course, we love to see that here. Bless you. And he will sort of using like the geographical or like, I guess, like urban planning, like knowledge of the area, just like where things are. He will describe the house that the Wilmington family lives in, and kind of like what things you need to pass to get there.
Wonderful. Your assistance is appreciated, Prophet. Be in good spirits, so whatever.
Please don't.
Lefarian
You
walks
mustn't
away.
call me that. And Lefarian is gone.
Well, I have the information. Shall we make our way?
Yeah. Great. Good work.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Harper will kind of tip his hat to the priest and get the fuck out.
He's definitely looking like a little perplexed. Maybe more than a little perplexed as you all leave. What the group you are to be in a church of all places.
It's a real motley crew.
A real motley crew. That's the perfect phrase for it. Thank you. Yes, you can load back into the carriage and make your way through the nearby suburbs to the home that the priest had described to Lefarian. It's not like a mansion. It is not decked out with all the bells and whistles, but it isn't necessarily the like smallest apartment either. It's kind of like a middle-class house, built of brick, big old chimney that comes out the top of it. They don't have any decorations up for the holidays, but you do see the last name Wilmington scrawled on the mail. Did they have the mail yet? The mailbox.
Yes, they did.
It would be a slot in the door.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, in that case, it would say it on the slot. I googled when acetaminophen was invented earlier, and it was like in the 1860s, so I'm giving it to you, D. Yes, but the name denotes that you are at the correct house. The shades are drawn, but they aren't blackout curtains or anything like that, so you can see the glow of light inside. People are home.
I'll walk up to the door, knock, and then step to the side. Just decide that if the door swings open this way, he'll be on the other side of it.
Okay, and sorry, did you say that you were knocking yet, or you're just standing?
Oh no, I'm gonna knock on the door. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll follow up
Or
with,
knock,
with Igor.
or
Harper will-
whatever they use in this time period to. Yeah.
Harper will be there too.
Lefarian is staying in the carriage. I've already done my good deeds for the day. And go light a cigarette.
Okay.
I'm
So
gonna be
Lefarian
a
is-
good, 15 feet back, but still there, out of the carriage. But I also want to let Violet down and have her just do a lap.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're close enough to show your condolences, but also near the cart to make sure that Lefarian doesn't give your cat asthma.
Exactly.
So you're just letting Violet kind of wander around the front yard, or do you want Violet to try to circle around the back? And how are you instructing the cat to do this?
Okay, so we are magically connected.
This I know.
So my hope is that she would go around the house, and her special skill is that she helps draw things in. So if there are weird spirits around the house, my hope is that she would draw them towards the front.
You got that fancy D20 you showed us before we started?
Yeah.
Roll it.
Okay. Oh, I should have my black cat D20. Okay. I have lots of dice.
Me too.
14.
All right, noted.
Cool.
Do you want me to is this a sort of thing where you can see through Violet's eyes? Or do you just get the vibes magically? How should I relay this information to you?
I cannot see through her eyes. That would be cool as fuck. But I cannot do that. It's more vibes.
Okay. So there is a general sense of melancholy that even as a cat, Violet can pick up. You even see this in the front yard from your view, something that's usually well tended in a hobbyist sort of way, has kind of been left the wayside for a little bit. For example, in the front yard, you notice this, the walkway up to their door is iced over and was never shoveled out. And this continues around. There is a sort of presence you feel, kind of a sharp uptick in cortisol. You can feel Violet get stressed in sort of the fashion that something is watching, and she has spotted it, and it has spotted her. And her circling kind of slows at this point until you eventually hear a hiss from behind the house, and she skitters back around and jumps back onto the step up on the cart and perches there.
Harper will kind of turn and look at Victor and make a face.
I'm sure it's fine.
Right. And then Harper will just kind of start to head to the back of the house.
Okay.
Did anyone answer the door?
That's what I'm about to do.
Okay.
Just as Harper begins to walk away, it has taken a minute. You've heard some brief shuffling behind the door, and eventually a woman opens the door. She is a lot about her is dark right now. Her dark hair is pulled back in a bun that was probably once a little tighter, but is now loose from perhaps sitting backward, laying back on it, and a little bit frizzy. Her eyes are sunken with lack of sleep, maybe even dehydration. Despite her tear-streaked face, it's obvious that she's been crying from sort of the puffiness and redness on her olive skin, and she is in house clothes, but she's wrapped herself in a dressing robe to answer the door, and she goes, "Are you more friends of Cyrus? You couldn't leave whatever you've brought in the foyer."
Good afternoon, Mum. We didn't bring anything. I was hoping to ask a few questions.
And she doesn't say anything. She just like looks at you, very bewildered.
Are you all right?
Are you?
I'm a doctor.
Oh. And she glances at Igor, who is standing with you, and her eyes travel down to see this big bag that he carries, similar to yours. You can kind of see the wheels turning, like she assumes that he's also in the medical field, and she steps aside to let you into their house. The house is mostly in order, or it would be. You see that there's like a line of shoes where people typically take them off when they walk into the house. You see that there's a fire in the fireplace. There's a couch with blankets that are sort of askew. Their coffee table has a number of discarded handkerchiefs, half-eaten things, and unfinished beverages kind of laying about. But the dining room table itself is pretty much filled from end to end, its entire surface area, with flowers that have sort of like begun to dry in their bouquets, and like tins of muffins that have the kind of covering like curled up where people have picked at them. There's a stack of cards, discarded envelopes ripped in half that never quite made it to the garbage can. And she offers you a seat wherever you would like to sit in this living room.
Helena will pick the Kalinas chair and sit.
Igor's gonna hover around the back of the seat that Helena's sitting at, just kind of watching everything.
And yes, the woman begins to compose herself, and she eventually begins. "I apologize. It's not often you meet a female doctor. I assume you've been sent by the police department. Is there some kind of news for us?"
I don't have news, but I'm quite interested in information that you might be able to give me. Why do you think the police department would be sending us?
She gives like an exasperated huff, and she goes, "It was," and she looks like she's gonna cry again. You can see her face get a little redder. It gets hot as like the tear ducts, start to act up. And she
Helena puts her hand on Igor's hand and says, "Dear, please make a tonic for the lady."
Yes, right away. He heads to the kitchen area and begins working a concoction up.
Something calming and soothing. Teeny little bit of morphine in it that is code.
Yes, ma'am.
And she eventually gets it out. It was just all quite sudden. And we were told that if anything popped up regarding what had happened, then we would be notified.
Could you tell me what happened?
Uh, he, well, he, uh, Cyrus, has had been, studying, with the tailor, just a few blocks, west of here, for the last few years, um, entering the profession. Um, and one day he didn't return home from work. And George, that is the tailor, found him in the upstairs room of their building, with his throat, and it was just very. He was happy. We thought. So we figured it has to be someone else that came in and did it. But maybe it wasn't. We don't know.
That is a very difficult injury to give one could give to themselves. So I'm inclined to agree with you.
Is that tonic ready yet? Yeah.
Yeah, I was waiting for like a good moment to just be like, here you go.
Yeah, she takes it. She takes one tentative sip, takes the taste, and then just like drinks like gulp, 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 gulp.
It's not going to be enough to knock her out, but it will be enough to help calm her down.
Yeah.
Hopefully she'll get a little more coherent.
So we were hoping to hear from the police if a perpetrator was caught, or even if it is the other way, confirmation of such a thing.
Right then. May I have a look at his things?
Oh.
Perhaps
Well,
a journal where one might write your feelings, or I might find some clues that will help lead us towards the answer.
Roll presence.
Alright. 6.
He did keep a journal, but the department took it as part of their investigation, and I would rather not disturb his room right now. I'd like to leave it as it is.
Understandable. Well, we shall get out of your hair. Here's my card. Please reach out if you hear anything at all.
Okay. And she'll take it, and she will put it on the coffee table. And one more thing. We have the outside group. We have Harper. You went back into the backyard. So see, behind their house isn't anything particularly special. There's like a bench with like one of those like swingy benches. There's a bird bath. It's very, very old. Like it was white at some point. Now it's like kind of gray, kind of like yellow. Um, but with your particular instincts, I'm not even sure that a roll is needed. I think it's fairly obvious to you what probably spooked Violet is that there's an owl, like a great horned owl, rather large. Actually, my body is like smaller than other people's, so I really can't use it for reference. It's like a little bit larger than a normal owl, the owl that kind of sits perched on the back fence. And as you kind of enter the scene there, it turns to you and looks at you with these like knowing, bright eyes.
Knowing
And
as in it knows, or knowing as in like it's an owl that seems to have some sort of
who's to say it's an
okay.
owl? It seems wise. But I will say the one thing that should probably occur to you is that it's the middle of the day. And with that, I think we will take our break. So everybody go stretch, something to drink, something to snack on, and we will be back with the dusk and the nighttime of this episode in a few minutes. So, in the heart of London on this cold night, a tavern buzzes with people. And you may ask yourself, who the fuck is at a tavern on a cold ass night like this, right before Christmas? If you're going to drink, shouldn't you be drinking your eggnog at home? Not everybody has somewhere to be. And a sailor stands at the bar, kind of making advances at the young barmaid with long caramel-colored hair that falls over her shoulders. She's making her money's worth tonight, certainly working the crowd, making the best of having to come in on a night so bitter. As the sun sets, certain people flow in, others out. But the sailor remains kind of pressing for her affections, using words that are a bit unsavory until she eventually goes into the back room, switches out with her male counterpart until the man leaves, frustrated and a little bit drunk. Our party finds themselves, as the sun begins to set, back at the Hargrave house, a little piece of home for everybody. I'd like to say that today you all gather and talk in the reception hall. It's one of the first things you see when you come in, and you know that you're heading out again, so you stay there. So I'd like to paint the scene and ask you all if you feel unsettled or at home in the Hargrave house, and what about this entryway makes you feel that way?
For Harper, I think it's dusk, so that brings some unique issues for him. So he's just a little on edge. Keeping everything in line.
This isn't a question that like all of you have to answer or like particular people have to answer. So if you feel that you have something to add, you can add it. But if you don't want to say anything, that's fine too. Don't feel pressured.
Lefarian will feels at home, mostly because his worshippers dress to their specifications, and he leads them back to their room.
Is that all that you asked them to do while you were gone? Can I pry?
You can.
What did you?
Well,
what are you making these people do, buddy?
We're going to inch towards TOS depending on how far you pry.
Okay, never mind.
There you
Okay.
go.
Damn.
You got
Okay.
there.
Oh.
Damn, Jonathan. Jonathan. Yes, so you're back at the house, and I'd like to give you all an opportunity to discuss what your next move is regarding this death and everything else that you've discovered over today.
So, Doctor, you said the boy was spending time with the tailor.
Yes.
Well, I don't see a reason why we shouldn't pay the good tailor a visit in the dead of night.
I'd like to check out his shop, actually, in the dead of the night.
Sounds just as fine to me.
At the very least, we can make the assumption that if the boy was an apprentice to the tailor, he was likely buried in one of their suits. So perhaps we could get a sample serving, know what kind of fashion we're looking for.
That could be useful for Harper to sniff out any clues.
Mm.
So are you all looking to head to the tailor's while the shop is still open? Or are you looking to head in, like try to sneak in once it's closed to look around?
Harper's got a little bit of a plan with that. So we can go closer to, while it's open, but closer to the end hours if everyone is okay with that.
Yeah, I was gonna say we can do some, I can go in first and do some recon, and then if we have to, we can get in.
I just need about 45 minutes and then I'm your alls for the night.
And where'd you get that one this time? He smells funny.
Oh, he's delightful, isn't he? Medical student, and sort of like nods, is like, isn't that interesting to the good doctor? And say, but he heard the song a few blocks away and decided to worship at the temple.
There we go.
Mm.
Well, you take your time. I have a few things to handle myself. So I think that'll give us some good time to handle our own faculties, and then we'll be ready to go. 45 minutes, he said?
Somewhere around there. My knot work isn't what it used to be.
50 minutes. Let's do that.
Mm.
Not an hour.
Not an hour.
Just 50. All right. Set your egg timers. Don't know if those have been invented yet either.
No.
No.
50 minutes. Batter up. What are you guys doing? I think we know what Lefarian is doing. What is the rest of you doing?
I have a move. I don't know if I have to. It just says each dust phase. I have to choose one of two things. I don't know if that happens now.
It is the dusk phase. So,
in that case, so I titty up, manage accounts, and answer callers, and I get to choose one of two things. One of them is you find something of use in the house, say what it is, and give it to another hunter. They add it to their personal quarters. So I'm going to do that. I'm just going to find a nifty lock-picking tool set and just pass it over to the good doctor on the sly. We're just going to... Here you go, madam. In case it is necessary.
Thank you.
My pleasure. That's it.
Helena's gonna be reading.
all right, what are you reading?
Medical text. New things that are going on. New discoveries. She's, got multiple medical journals that she reads and has like a fancy desk that has like a rotating platform thing, so she can read multiple things at the same time and reference things. It was something I saw on the internet recently and it looked really cool, and so I want to have one. So she has one.
Yeah, I'm thinking about what you might be reading about at this time, looking at medical technology that advanced in this time period. I think that we are actually just around the point in time where the rabies vaccine is developed in the late 1800s. So good for people that are bit by rabid animals. Congratulations. I'm sure it's very interesting in a lot of science words that I don't know because I was an English major. Victor, what are you doing?
So I actually kind of wanted to talk to Harper about the owl.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Harper's in his basement lodgings. you would open the door and he would kind of like shuffle things around and basically make sure you don't see a certain thing and turn around and be like, Victor, what's going on? How can I help you?
Yeah. So obviously you said you saw that owl behind the house. And Violet did not like that. So I was wondering what exactly you saw.
Well, it's a large thing. Bigger than I'm used to seeing owls and during the day, so it was definitely out of place. But it looked at me a little bit more like it knew more than it should. I don't know how else to explain that.
Like it knew more than it should.
Yeah. I know that's a weird thing to say about just an owl, but
I mean, I don't think I've seen a lot of owls, but I feel like a lot of owls kind of look like they know something.
that's right. Well, I'm not sure what else to tell you. I'm not a zoologist or anything like that. But did you say your cat smelled something at the same time when you saw it or something like that?
Yeah, no, it was just when she came back, it was she didn't like the owl.
Okay. Well, we'll have to keep an eye out for that. Gets my hackles up a little bit. Makes me feel like something's watching us.
Yeah. I'd rather be watching it, personally.
You and I are of a like mind in that. You ever been hunting?
No.
Well, the way this is looking, you might get a chance.
We'll see.
All right. Well, I've got to attend a few things before we head out, so if you don't mind.
As you were.
Thank you. And Harper will kind of close the door behind Victor, and then I will have to make my dusk roll.
Let's go.
So I got a 10. So things are just fine.
Yeah, your body. Yeah, I won't read the text to keep the mystery alive, but that is a successful roll.
Yeah.
All right. So we are prepared to head out. And so let's make our way, assumedly in the carriage, to the tailors. George LeVay's every single stream. George LeVay's tailor's shop is kind of a funny looking building. It's got like these dark green shingles on it, and it looks like the building version of the Survivor challenges where they have them like stack like bowls and shit on top of each other. It just like, it's like an architectural marvel, but as an insult. It's a weird fucking building. They are still open when you get there, though there is nobody there. There's no other carriage outside or horse strung up. But you can see the lamps lit inside that leave that window aglow against the night that surrounds.
Lefarian, did you want to do the talking again?
And a point of note about Lefarian, they're now wearing what is far too few clothes for how cold it is. And it might be like a trick of the light, but they almost look like taller.
God, I wish that were me. God, I wish.
And Lefarian says, I mean, I could speak to the tailor if you wish. I believe Mr. Billings had a plan in mind.
I do. And it involves one of y'all going inside first, having a little conversation. And as Harper's talking, the kind of lint of the light reflects off his eyes a little bit too much. And he continues, I'll get a little bit of perimeter going around the street, make sure that there's nothing untoward going on, and then I'll come in and close the shop, and then we can have a more serious conversation.
Can you roll that information roll for me when you scour the perimeter?
Would it be information? That's vitality because I'm using my.
That's the one where you kind of get to pick given the situation. You're doing your big buff dude thing. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Lefarian is now smoking cigarettes from a different cigarette case. The first one was black and gold. This one is silver with red trim, and it says it's engraved with the cursive for tobacco is bad for you. And they're shorter, blunter cigarettes.
Beautiful.
What did you roll?
I rolled an 11 in total.
Oh, not just good, but phenomenal. Almost that 12. What a shame.
Yeah. Too bad.
But not quite. You notice that there's sort of a warmth in this neighborhood, not like a physical warmth, but a metaphorical warmth. A lot of people, a lot of neighbors seem to genuinely be close to each other here. You can see one family passing out of their house and heading across the street with a mincemeat pie to give for the holidays. You can see another person kind of leaning out their second floor window and talking down to another person who is returning from a late shift who lives in the house next to them. It's kind of wholesome. It's nice the way that people seem to care about each other in this particular area, and it sort of makes it make more sense why there were so many gifts on that table in the Wilmington home. People know each other here. The other thing you notice on an 11 is the owl is here, perched on top of a street lamp, kind of just scanning. It glances at you briefly, just as you look at it. The timing is perfect, and then looks away like it doesn't want to talk to you.
Yeah, Harper will go over and nudge Victor and point up at the owl.
Same one.
Oh, yeah.
Looks the same, yeah.
It's exactly the same.
Had to roll an 11. No fun for Max.
So we are absolutely being watched.
I don't like being watched.
Well, find a way to turn it around. Lefarian, would you mind starting the conversation?
Yes, I suppose I should do what I do best. And Lefarian will make his way into the tailor shop.
So a little bell rings above the door as you enter the largely empty shop. It's on the smaller. Go ahead.
I'll join. I'm just blowing my nose, but I'll join in going inside. So
Okay.
just saying I'm there.
I follow.
So the three of you then. The three of you head into the shop. There are no other customers at the time, only the tailor, who I will get to describing shortly. The shop is very neat, very aesthetically pleasing, almost to an opposite to the outside of the house, or not house, the outside of the building. But that theme of the theme of color remains. That same green is on a lot of the different fabrics featured. A beautiful tie, or even a cravat featuring a green gem. There are, tables for measurement. There are different rolls of satin and silk kind of lining the walls. And behind a counter is who we can assume to be the tailor. He turns to look at you when the bell sounds. And he is probably like the youngest person you've spoken to all day, but still not that young. He's probably somewhere in his 30s. His skin is lightly tanned, but perhaps on the paler side, with the lack of sunlight in the given months. He has a kind of hooked nose, and his hair not slicked back, but it pushes back in the way that it just sort of grows that way, kind of tousled on his head. And he is rather well dressed in garments that are in a tailor's fashion, perfectly tailored to his body. A button-up shirt that is tinted pink, and a tie that hangs down. And he looks up at all of you inquisitively as you enter, the three of you. Now I'm going to do an accent, dear listeners. That is not going to be my best work now, but in my head, it's French. So if everyone can
hell yes,
auditorily envision that this sounds French.
Gotcha.
Good evening. Is there something I can help you with?
Oui, monsieur. And Lefarian will step as close to the desk as they can get and then sort of lean over it and say, as you can see, I'm a bit underdressed for the weather. I was hoping to get some assistance.
Is there a garment in particular, a style of coat, a scarf?
Well, you seem to have nice taste. I was hoping you could show me a few things.
And he pulls kind of a pocket watch tucked in his pocket and does like the clicky thing to click it open, and then clicks it closed and says, well, I suppose we have 20 minutes before I have to close. Of course. And he leaves from behind the counter and kind of opens like a wardrobe on the one of the side walls to go through some pre-made garments that are available for sale, kind of glancing over his shoulder at Lefarian every now and again to try to nail the taste as he shuffles through the densely packed wardrobe. And he says, you are all unfamiliar. New in town?
Not quite. This is not exactly where I spend most of my evenings.
And at this point, he pulls out a coat. It is long, like a duster length. It would probably skim the floor, especially if there's snow on the ground. It would definitely catch it at the ends. It has a tall collar and 2 rows of buttons, double-breasted. And those buttons are a very new silver with these sort of like red roses of line work into the buttons. Yes, please. And holds the coat out so Lefarian, you can put your arms through it and try it on.
Lefarian will do so and look to his compatriots and say, "Well, what do we think? Befitting a god?"
And at that point, I think that's when Harper moves in with Victor and then closes the door. And if there's a sign, turns it around. I think that looks perfect.
I don't believe I caught your name, turning back to the tailor.
He looks uncomfortable for a moment as Harper walks in, declares his store closed non-verbally, and also reveals an American accent all in one fell swoop. One fell swoop. And so his eyes...
Darling, you're fine.
Yes,
it is George Levey.
Yes, I assure you, Mr. Billings' bark is much worse than his bite in most occasions.
Most.
And Lefarian will sit on the desk and say, "We just had some questions for you regarding a former apprentice of yours."
And he huffs, and I don't know if they are sending more people. I told them I do not know anything. I did not see anyone come in. I was out having my cigarette.
Oh, you smoke?
He looks at you kind of like, doesn't everybody smoke?
Long or short?
Long.
And Lefarian will just not reach for anything, but just unroll their hand, and there's a long cigarette between the fingers.
He will take it and head back behind the counter to strike a match, light it.
"Oh, please allow me." And Lefarian will lean backwards to look him in the eyes while they light the cigarette.
Okay.
Question. You say you saw nothing the night that the unfortunate events took place? No strange customers? Nothing?
It was a standard day. Oh, that's bad. Oh, that was bad.
You're doing great.
It's a normal amount of people in and out. There's some new customers, some regular. No one suspicious. It's a shame. Cyrus was a wonderful kid. Would have made a wonderful tailor.
Can I try and glean insight from that particular comment?
Yeah, sure. What do you want to roll? What exactly do you want to roll?
I'd like to use my presence if I can in this situation.
Okay.
To try and discern the truth.
I'll allow it.
Fantastic. And with my modifier, that is a 15.
Boy,
Boxcars.
Oh. So he's not lying. It's very clear that he cared for this kid. It's clear that they didn't just meet. He really has studied under him for at least a few years. There's a bond there. But there's also like a sense of like worry, like deep down, about Cyrus. Likely something, that was troubling while he was alive. That's like picking at the back of his brain, like in a way that you think it's stupid to bring up because there's no way it has anything to do with it, but it's always bothered you.
Lefarian will walk past the doctor and pretend to...
Okay, we gotta hold on for a second. Sorry, guys.
Yep, take a second.
I'd like to think that for that entire time, Igor has just been perusing the merchandise, just kind of walking around,
looking at all the carts,
just like anyone who walks in and sees it's just a group of people harassing the store owner and a regular customer in the corner, just looking at merch, unaware of what's happening.
Amazing.
What if I just let Violet go in the store? Like, what would she do?
I think that would be a good idea.
Yeah,
I
like
she
would probably.
Mm-hmm.
The cat will start just unrolling all of the.
Hey guys, water is all over my laptop and my entire desk right now.
no!
Just to give way to what's going on.